So, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's podcast, The Breast Cancer Hero's Journey. Now, my guest today is Heather Burkart. Now, Heather is a founder of her Wellbeing Ayurveda and Yoga, which I can't wait to talk about the Ayurveda. She's a certified Ayurvedic practitioner and a professional member of the National Ayurvedic Medical Association. Now, her mission is to share Ayurvedic traditions that empower and nourish women, body, mind, and spirit. Having said that, welcome, Heather.
Thank you so much, Grace. It's wonderful being here with you.
Oh, as I said, this is close to my heart. Anyone who has followed my journey knows that one of the things that I talk about is my journey with Ayurveda. So, and what I'll do is I'll just touch a bit about that and then we'll go into more of it because I'm going to talk to you about a patient's point of view. So, any other side is definitely your cup of tea because don't ask me the technology or the terminology because I'll probably go, I have no idea. But what happened was back in 2018, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, one of my good friends and part of my dream team actually said, Grace, I think it's best if you do Ayurveda. Now, at the time, I did Ayurveda in Ubud in Bali, and it was definitely a Indian Ayurvedic center. But of course, the people working there were Balinese, but the doctors himself were from India. So going in there, I had no idea what to expect. You know, I'm thinking, what is this? A relaxation meditation center? What is it? What do I do? And it just, it, when I was there for, I think I did the 12-day program, 10-day or 12-day program. And when I say to people, I purged, I didn't just purge the body. I purged the mind and I purged the soul. And that really helped me with my journey to the point 12 days later, the doctor at the time said to me, either your cancer's gone or it's shrunk. And in actual fact, when I got operated, when did I go to him? I think I got operated 4 weeks later. We decided to get the operation. They couldn't find the cancer. So having said all of this, that's my side of the story, as I said, from a patient's point of view. But Heather, I want you to explain to our listeners and our viewers what is Ayurveda, because a lot of people hear it and the yoga, but they don't fully understand it.
Right. Yes. And I love teaching about this. In general, Ayurveda is this timeless wisdom, a tradition, really, that has been passed down through the generations for thousands of years. And this is a Vedic science, meaning that it was born in India. And for me, so it's really a huge resource of deep teachings. And for me, I think the most valuable teaching in my path is learning how to honor my own personal truth. First, learning what that is a great part. Is like the first part of the journey, if you will, and then learning how to honor that every day in every way. And really, it's a lifelong practice. So it's like we're never done. We're never done. So it's really this wonderful source of teachings that keep giving, that help us to maintain our own health and well-being. So it's a very empowering wisdom tradition.
Okay. And like I said, like you said, it started from India. So why is it that what made the Indians thousands of years ago start with this? Because explain to our listeners and our viewers, because Ayurveda goes to the point where there's 3 types of, I've forgotten what they're called, and you'll probably remember them.
And,
body
types.
Correct. The body types. And obviously, probably you seeing me, you know exactly which one I am. So that's where it is. So why did they start this thousands of years ago?
That is a wonderful question. And I can't say that I am an expert in Ayurveda history.
Hmm.
But what my teachers have taught me was that it is a natural phenomenon that came forth, and it's very much in tune with nature, right? And so I think the original Ayurvedic teachers and seers, who we know as rishis, were trying to understand this relationship of themselves and with nature. And they learned how to learn from nature,
Yeah.
right? They observed nature, and they understood that we are part of nature.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are not separate. We
Mm.
are part of nature. And they, over so many, hundreds of years, thousands of years, they learned, because it's an evolving, it's a living science.
Mm.
They learned really, like, what are the secrets of staying in harmony with nature. And when we do that, we learn how to harmonize with ourselves as
Mm.
well. And so, for me, it seems like a culmination of just this learning process, and wanting to connect through nature and wanting to connect with our own nature. Does that make
Hmm.
sense? That's
Yeah, it
that's
does.
my
Yeah.
my
Mm.
general outlook, I think.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, because the thing is, it's pretty much, it's not just us and nature being two separate entities. It's working together. It's harmonious. And I felt that a lot. I felt that in the practice. I felt that when I was in the center, that it was very much a mirror image of, well, you've got to respect life, earth, but you got to respect yourself the same way. So you got to have a lot of respect. And the thing is, that's why I was saying, when I said, I purged a lot. I purged a lot of that misunderstanding, not just of myself, but of everything, my environment, of Mother Earth, of nature in general. I didn't grasp that until I went to the center, and it was beautiful to see it combined in both the practice, the yoga, the foods, even to the little last detail of food. There was a blessing in it. There was some sacredness to it. It wasn't just, here's your lunch or here's your dinner, go and eat it. There was a sacredness. Yeah. So, and I really like that. So when you
Yeah.
say that, yeah, go on. Go on.
I was just going to say, you've made a good point there. It's very, um, deliberate. Everything that is chosen for you, from your treatments to your diet to the herbs
Hmm.
that you might take, these are highly personalized. That's why when you go into a panchakarma clinic,
Hmm.
panchakarma is the detoxification
Hmm.
ritual that's usually done. Um, at least once or twice a year for some of us, if we're lucky. It's a
Yeah.
very personal approach, and that's why you're usually working with someone who, a doctor there, who is setting up all of your treatments, your food, and everything. So everything is in harmony and working towards the
Mm.
same goal of supporting whatever energies or doshas that need to be supported the most for you, because
Yeah.
everyone is different.
Hmm.
So it's wonderful
Absolutely.
that you picked up on that, because that's very deliberate.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, because when I talk about, with people that I've done ancient medicine work with shamans in Peru, they don't realize that people think you just drink, you purge whatever you put in your mouth, you just purge out. It's not a matter of purging out the medicine. It wasn't a matter of me eating. It wasn't just me detoxifying my body. Like I said to you before, with the herbs, with the special treatment, with all of the all of the things that I had to do. It wasn't just me sitting there looking pretty and, oh, here you go, Grace, here's this a meal on a tray. And I would go in my room, and I wasn't the only one, but I would be purging, I would be crying. And I'm like, why is this thing making me cry? This is fantastic. Because what it was doing, yes, because there was energies in my body that weren't, they weren't in line. So that's what I did. I started to look at that and go, well, this isn't serving me. This energy isn't serving me. This isn't serving me. So therefore, that's what it was doing. So I could see that, I understand that from that point of view. But a lot of people, like you said before, they think you go into a center and all you're doing is detoxing. And it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. So I'm glad you brought that up, because it's really, really important. Like you said, when you do the Pachakama process, have I said that right? Because I just wrote it down. Yeah, great. Like you said, it's something that's individual. It's not meaning you and I go and do Ayurveda and we're going to do exactly the same treatment, and what they do on you is going to be done on. It wasn't. It wasn't. There, I was there with, I think we were 20 maximum, and none of us could turn around and say, oh, yeah, we feel the same way, or we're doing the same thing. None of us. So, and it was quite interesting to see the energies. People would be purging energies one day. Other people are on a nice high, and other people are on a low, low. And we're not talking physically. We're talking emotionally. We're talking spiritually. So it was beautiful to see that transition. So why do you think Ayurveda is, because I know how important it was for me, but why is it so important for you to translate the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda in modern day? Why do you believe that so much?
Because Grace is still so incredibly relevant. And so much of it still applies to our life. A lot of it is very practical, common sense in terms of seeking harmony in our lives, right? And so it is still applicable. And the wonderful thing about Ayurveda, it is a living science. And so that means it has evolved. And, it is always evolving. It honors the fact that we are unique individuals. And so it understands that we all have our own journey. We all have our own path. And that will always be extremely valuable information for anyone who's looking for a holistic approach to health and well-being, that there is a way. Yes, there is a way. It does happen to be very personal. And no one can walk it but you.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's a gift that keeps giving, these deep teachings that continue to just bring us back to ourselves, to discover who our true self is, what it really means to be in our true self, and then how do we continue to honor that. So, when we look at the onset of disease in Ayurveda, we look at it on a very basic energetic level. So way before there are any symptoms, there is a disturbance of this energetic harmony, this balance that is dictated by your body type, right? Your Ayurvedic constitution, you have this special integration of energies or doshas that's unique to you, right? And when those energies start to fall into a place of imbalance, that is seen as the root of all dis-ease. And then from there, things start to accelerate depending on if those imbalances are actually chronic, right? So there really is, I think there's really important teachings around understanding how we get to the place of disease in the first place. It really starts at that root cause. And so Ayurveda brings us back to that root cause to remind us, like, hey, you veered away from your true self.
Yes.
From the perfect balance of your energies. Everyone has a different balance of the doshas: air, fire, earth, water,
Mm,
right? And
mm.
so when those energies go out of balance, that's when things like panchakarma can be really helpful, the cleansing rituals, the seasonal cleansing rituals, but it also reminds us on a daily basis, Ayurveda does, that we can, like before we need the full cleansing ritual, there are things that we can do every day that continues to honor our true selves.
Yeah, and I think that's important because, like you said, I really like the way you touched on that. Because when I say to people, "Was I surprised I got cancer?" Oh yeah. Was I surprised I got cancer? No, I wasn't. And if you look at it, a lot of people go, "Oh, is it because of what you were eating?" Mine was energetically. When I say energetically, I was going through a really bad time in my life that, I was angry, I was resentful, I was jealous. I was a lot of things. And it was really an unbalance of energy. And it's interesting because I believe I was fire. And the thing is, yeah, and I love the fact that I'm not going to say by the time I left I was air, because that would be the biggest lie out there. But I felt like I was air. Because why? Because, like you said, I had to get rid of the disease. I love the way you touched on the diseases, because that's exactly what the doctor was talking about. He kept looking at me, and that is why he said to me, "Grace, we caught this in time." This is someone that I went to Bali with, as in to go to Bali and do this. And this doctor says to me, "Grace, it's either gone or it's shrunk." That I remember thinking to myself, how would he know? And in actual fact, like I said, 4 weeks later, I got operated. They couldn't find it. Because why? Because when he was checking, like you said, the harmony, he was finding the harmony. And he was saying, "Grace, you're no longer in that massive fire. You're not eating there. You're not living there. You're not thinking there." It wasn't just like you're saying, and it's great how you say that you could do this where you don't become the disease or get to that point. It's really important to harmonize your life. You would probably know better than anyone, with COVID around, it's created a lot of, you know, disharmony, because people that used to be able to do things are feeling like, "Oh, now I can't," and they feel all out of balance. And that is what's going to create, a lot of problems in the long run, which you don't want to get, of course. Um, so I really like how you bring that up, because I truly believe that, yeah, it comes down to, like you're saying, it comes down to harmony. I know we use this word, we're going to be using this word a lot, but it's true. It's true. And anyone who's watching or listening is probably going to go, "Oh, you guys are off with the fairies." No, we're not. We're not. We're not. I'm no fairy, and I'm not off with nothing. But because why? Because I truly understand what you say, because what I brought back, and after, I will show you, I have it right here on my desk. 2018, I wrote something in my Ayurveda journey, and I didn't pull it out because you were on today. I've had it here. The first thing says, "I am willing to let go." The first line. That's on a piece of paper that I found in my journal. So, you know what I mean? So I think it's so, having said that, like, so if people are listening and going, "Well, I can't fly to Peru, Heather. Sorry, Peru. I can't fly to Bali. I can't fly to India." So what are some things that people can start recognizing? I believe the first thing that they can start recognizing, that they know that they're not in harmony.
That's a great question, Grace. And let me just say, as a side note, your story is really an incredible one. It's really incredible, especially to get, um, that type of result. That is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And I do truly feel that, like, the timing must have been really good for you. Like, you were
Yeah.
ready. You were really ready. And you talk about, like, this excess, and this is
Mm.
perfect, because this is really what this cleansing ritual is for, is to draw out the excesses, to lessen them, to take the heat out, right? So that we can
Mm,
experience our true
that's right.
selves, right?
Mhm.
Not through this filter of excess. I'm sorry. So you might have to repeat that question again because
That's
I
okay.
wanted
So
to
the
note on that.
yeah. No, the question is how can people find, like in the beginning,
Oh,
what is
yes.
something that they can notice? Yeah.
Well, you know, again, I'll mention that everyone's journey is so incredibly different because we are all such unique beings, and we all have our own entryway, right?
Mm,
We all have our gateway that's going to lead us in that direction towards harmony, towards well-being. But what I it makes me think of, this question makes me think of, is how one of the main roots of disease is the mind. This is
mm,
what is taught in Ayurveda, is that disease actually, the root, it actually begins in the mind. And so again, you know, I mentioned, how are the ways that you know, it starts with some soul searching, right?
mm.
Um, what are the ways you feel that you are out of alignment with yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
what are the ways that you feel that are, you know, how are you unrecognizable to yourself in any
Mm,
way? And it's usually these excesses that have led us away, or the imbalances that have led us away from our true self for whatever reason. So this, it's kind of it's starting really with the big picture.
mm,
And then of course when we think about the everyday things, what I like to talk to my clients about in particular is reclaiming, like, first of all, getting to know your truth,
mm.
right? And being grounded in that. And what are the
Yes.
grounding practices that are
Mm,
reaffirming that every day, that this is me, this is me, this is not me. I'm not, you know, I'm going to do less of the not me, right? Because it's
yeah.
probable that not me is in excess, right? So
That is so true.
I'm going to start moving back towards me. And there's no judgment in that
Mm,
whatsoever. It's all a learning process. And regardless of what happens, we're gaining such valuable knowledge about ourselves. So there are little things that we can do to try to return to ourselves. So we have
mm,
so many of these practices given to us by Ayurveda and yoga that put us back in touch with ourselves, that are very grounding, nourishing practices. And some of it is so basic that your listeners are probably going to guffaw. But honestly, it's things like, you know, breathing.
mm.
How am I breathing? What is
Yeah.
my breath like? Right?
Yeah.
Can I be in tune with my breath? If we can be in tune with our breath, the breath is seen as the bridge between the mind and the body.
Yeah.
So if we want to talk to both our mind and our body,
Mm,
the breath is a really wonderful way to start. And I'm sure people are thinking like, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean to
yeah.
be aware of your
Yeah.
breath?
Yeah.
And so that's when we start to talk about meditation and just
Mm,
having a little bit of time for yourself every day. And you don't have to think about it as meditation. I talk to my clients as like just time for you to be with yourself,
mm.
where you're just sitting with
Yeah.
yourself and you're noticing how you breathe, because we want to stay
Mhm.
connected with the body.
Mhm.
And the more we can be in tune with ourselves, the more we can know what is truly us and what is not serving us. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
start to make those distinctions, like, yeah,
Mm,
this is me. This is me over here. And like, that's a voice that someone else put there. That's not me. Right.
mm.
So
Yeah.
it's cultivating the self-awareness over time, is an important practice. But these little, like, nourishing things, and it's, you know, it's helpful to know there's no silver bullet. It's going to be different for everyone. So what's going to work for your friend might not work for you.
Mm,
You know, you might have had a friend that went with you and did the same program, and it didn't work. right? Didn't work for hers because it wasn't designed for her.
Yeah.
So it is helpful to reach out to an Ayurvedic practitioner or a health counselor if you know of one in your area, to get personal suggestions. But something that I can share that that I work with my clients is just, using those times to get to know each other, ourselves, and be with ourselves, to increase that self-awareness. But these little nourishing practices, like sitting in the morning with a cup of tea. If meditation seems like too far out there for you, or even just connecting with your breath, and that just seems too like out there, that's okay. What about just sitting with a cup of tea in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just doing that. No screens, no distractions. What is it like? What does that feel like?
Yeah.
That for a lot, like including myself and a lot of my clients, that's my meditation.
Yeah.
That really is my morning meditation, because that's what's accessible.
Yes.
Right. So we have to start where we're at. We're starting with things that we can easily grasp in our lives. And so when we sit with ourselves in the morning, we might think of, maybe a special intention we have for that day. Right. Or at least to focus on what is on our plate that day.
Yeah.
And if we're going to sit in truth with ourselves, is it aligned? Like what is on your plate today? And does that feel aligned with you? And know that, and this is especially true for women, we put so much on our plate sometimes, especially our A types, right?
Yeah.
We're just so busy putting all these things on our plate. And so the morning reflection time, sometimes it's time to be like, nope.
To-do list.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's not going to serve me.
Yeah.
That's not, I'm not doing that for me. I'm doing this for someone else. Right. So it does give us this moment of clarity to be like, I want what's on my plate to serve me.
Yeah.
And it's important to serve others as well.
Oh, absolutely.
But Ayurveda does really emphasize how important it is to put ourselves first. And so, especially for women, I find this extremely empowering, because it's giving us permission to be, what we think of as selfish. But it's not seen as selfish in Ayurveda.
Yes.
We call that self-care. It's self-care to say, like, this is what I'm able to do today.
Yeah.
This is what I'm not, or this is not who I am. Right. And just to start to make those decisions. And if we can, if that becomes a daily practice, that starts to creep out into the rest of our lives in different ways. When we're choosing what to eat, right? Like, I could eat the piece of chocolate cake. Yeah, I could do that. It'd be really good. And then there's this other healthy thing that I think would, of course, it's going to be different for everyone, but here's this other thing that could nourish me in a completely deeper, more meaningful way, and so we start to take that mindset out into all the decisions we make during the day. So again, those practices are coming from, or they're built upon self-awareness. So I know people are looking for specific things. I hope that's
that's perfect. Absolutely. No, but it's so true what you're saying, and I've written them all down, because a lot of people, that's exactly what you're saying. A lot of people think that they have to for some reason 180 or nothing. It's a 180 change or nothing. It's not going to work unless, no, it's not. It's the small things in life. We have a saying, it's not our saying, we use it from our mentor. It's a 2 millimeter shift. That's all it is. It's a small shift that you do. So it's not saying, we're not here saying to people, right, you need to learn how to breathe. You have to meditate, self-awareness, be selfish, all in once. We're not saying, Please don't ever think that we're going to tell you to go out there to your family and say, I don't want you. It's all about me. It's not about that. But everything you said just before resonated, because that's exactly on this path where I found who was important. And when my husband's like, there are times when I'd say, I don't need my husband. It's not because I didn't need him. I didn't need him, but I wanted him to want me. What I meant by that is I needed to make sure that I was good on my own. And that's what gave me more life and more, self-esteem and confidence, and being true to yourself. That is the most important thing. I'm probably as authentic as you're going to see. This is, if you saw me off camera, this is how I am. So, you know what I mean? And it's because I had to learn I'm not going to be a people pleaser. From now on, I need to be true to me. If I want to live this life, this is what's important. And if I can share what's important for me, I can be a better version of myself for others. That's what it is. Just be a better version of yourself for others. I'm not here to save the world, but I'm here to make of service. This is who I am. Can I help you? Great. Can I not help you? Great. you know but like you said, it's this whole thing is a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. It's not a quick fix. We're just teaching people how these small changes, and we'll get into the other changes, of course, that you're helping clients with, but these are the small changes. Like you said, just that simple thing of sitting with a cup of tea, no screens. Every morning at 6 a.m., I am up. Rain, hail, or shine, I am in the ocean at 6:30 in the morning. I'm in the ocean. So
Wow.
it's not pleasant. There are days where there's more crap in the ocean that I want to deal with. But why? Because that time between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m., I am out of my home. Yes, you know what's funny? I take my phone, I take my headphones, my AirPods, nothing. I don't even know why I bring them, because I don't use them. You know what I mean? But I think I just in case, you might need your phone, something, whatever. But, but it's that moment, like you said, it's that moment that I wake up, I leave my house in the dark with my husband. We get to the certain part of the beach and everything comes off. I mean, bathers accepted, but everything else comes off, and it's 1, 2, 3. No, oh, what's it going to be? No, because what that does is it just resets us and grounds us.
Mm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
really important what you said. It's the little things. And I'm not telling people to go throw themselves in oceans now, not unless you want to, but it's the little things. It's the small things that make it so good. But I know that
Right.
you're
And
going to
that's what works for you. And
correct.
and so everyone needs to find the thing that
Absolutely.
works for them. And I'm glad you brought up the excess, or the making really drastic changes.
Mm,
The teachers of Ayurveda taught us that that was not a smart thing to do, because that is another type of excess, going
there you
from one
go.
extreme to the other. And it's harmful and it's not kind to
No,
ourselves, right? And that's
no.
another thing that that they're teaching us, is that this is a compassionate practice. um
Yes.
right, so this is not
Yeah.
about beating ourselves up. It's not about it being painful in order for you to feel like it's working. It is,
Mm,
one thing that's helpful for people to know is it is usually a very gentle approach. And I would say panchakarma is definitely one of the more you know uh, like intense experiences
mm,
that
mm.
someone can have with Ayurveda. But there's lots of different ways to weave it into your everyday life that is very gentle and are just like what you're talking about, like little steps, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on the next thing, because one of the things that I was doing is every morning I was doing a yoga. Now, I'm not a yoga person.
Mhm.
So when I got told you're going to do a yoga, and this is important that I want people to listen to, because I don't do yoga. And I thought, oh, holy cow, they're going to get me to bend my body in a shape I've never heard before. One of my sessions, in actual fact, was me laying on a roll where I actually opened up my body and I laid there for 45 minutes. What that was allowing us to do is just open, as in open up your body, but just allow it to be. And I thought, oh, wow, this isn't the yoga that people think of. People think you got to do all these crazy moves and stuff. The yoga I did, yes, there was the, what do they call it? Not the intense, because that scares people, but it was more of another type of yoga. But the yoga I did, I looked forward to it every morning because it just felt like I was breathing. I was just being with myself. So why is it important? Because we know that the Ayurveda is important, but why is the yoga from Ayurveda important? Because yoga has been bastardized, and I don't like using that word, but you know what we mean. It's been put out there. Everyone goes to yoga, roll mat and a drink bottle, and we're going to yoga. It's not. The one that I did in Ayurveda was not that at all. Why is it important?
It is very important. And Ayurveda and yoga were braided together over time. They're very complementary. That's, there's a reason why they call them sister sciences,
Mm,
because they're intended to inform each other. So yoga might be, the yoga postures that we practice might be the technology that the first yogis did and passed down to us. That's the technology, right?
mm,
Ayurveda is actually the playbook,
mm.
is how we use the postures. Not everyone's going to agree with me on that, right? Especially from the yoga side of things. But from, at least from the Ayurvedic perspective, it's believed that you use Ayurveda in tandem with yoga, so that you're using the technology in a way that supports you in the way that you need to be supported. And this is part of the problem with group yoga classes, because what's good for you
Yeah.
might not be good for the person next to you, but you're doing the same practice. And so it is, Ayurveda does see yoga practice again as highly personalized. And that is something
Mm,
that you can seek out. That's one of my specialties as well, because I live in both worlds of Ayurveda and yoga.
mhm.
And so I can help my yogini clients figure out what yoga postures, what yoga practice really is best for them. But the yoga is important because we're learning how to move our bodies in different ways to influence the energies.
Yes.
So you can think about it as a form of acupressure,
Mm,
because you're moving your body in different ways that's going to put pressure on different pressure points in the body. And that is for a certain effect, depending on, are we working with the spine, are we working with the liver, are we working with the intestines? Like, what is it that we're working with?
mm.
What do we want to have a positive influence on? Are we working with the mind, right? Because
Yeah.
in Ayurveda, we also understand that yoga is a technology not just for the body but for the mind.
Mm,
And just like you, the experience that you had at the center was like, wow, this is awesome. This is this is
mm.
not just putting myself in a pretzel. This is
Yes.
more than skin deep, right? You
Yes.
felt
Yeah.
that. And
Absolutely.
it's because yoga, like Ayurveda, is a mind body medicine,
Mm,
right? We just need a gateway. Is it through the
yeah.
body or is it through the mind?
Yeah.
Right? For a lot of people, it's going to be through the body because that's
Mm,
just more tangible. Um, but yes, the Western take on yoga is highly fitness sized.
mm.
So it is not what the original yoga teachers intended. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's not a great workout.
Absolutely.
If that's what you like
Mm,
to do, if that's
yeah.
fun for
Mm,
you, That's you. That's great. However, you're not exactly sure what those postures are doing. That's the thing. And your yoga teacher might not also know. So it's
Yeah.
one of the nice things about being trained in Ayurveda and yoga is that I can lead my clients in specific postures and practices that are going to support them in the ways they need to be supported.
Yeah.
So we do need to move our bodies, and it is an easier gateway than meditation, let's say. So, and that is how we manipulate the energy, hopefully very deliberately, on a personal level, so we can also support the health and the well-being of the body mind system.
Yeah, yeah. That is that. Yeah, I'm glad you specified that, because, like I said, it wasn't. The moment you say to someone, "Let's do yoga," they're like, "What do you mean we do yoga?" But like I said, it was, to me, it was not a yoga class. To me, it was part of the process of healing. It was just a process of healing. I was doing that constantly. So, now the thing is, I know you touch more on women and why Ayurveda is really important. So, what is the most important principle of Ayurveda for women?
Yes. Yeah, great question, Grace. So, and that brings me back to my original point as well. It's really all about honoring ourselves as the unique beings that we are, and
Mhm.
as women, honoring ourselves as women. We are we are cyclical beings. We are emotional beings. We are spiritual beings.
Mm,
We are beings that have a greater affinity for most of us for the divine femininity, for the divine feminine, however that shows up in us. So it's
yeah.
really about honoring how that energy really resides in us, how it manifests in us, and that also steering our wellness journey as well, right? We're not going to be on the same wellness program as a man.
Mm,
We're different beings,
mhm,
period.
mhm, mhm.
So we need different support systems. We need different practices, and we're cyclical. We have a cycle, and
Yes.
men do as well, but we have a very different cycle that is attuned to the movements of the moon. So there's a
Mhm.
lot of planetary influences in women's wellness. And this is something that I love to teach about, because there's also the astrological component of Ayurveda that is going to inform, more personal flourishes for,
Mm,
whatever your journey is. But it's very
mm.
much attuned to the moon. And just like the moon, we're very changeable. And,
Yeah.
learning how to honor and respect that, instead of, I feel, at least in Western society, it's been degraded. It's been just looked upon as weak or vulnerable,
Mm,
because we are
mm.
emotional beings, when in fact that's part of our strength.
Correct.
It is that we are emotional beings, and we are very spiritual beings, and that's just who we are. And I feel like it's part of our path as women to embrace that, however that feels best for us. So again, there's the cyclical aspects. We're usually observing the phases of the moon. Our
Mhm.
energy wanes with the movements of the moon, whether it's full or it's new. And so there's this greater self-awareness practice that is happening between us and the moon,
Mm,
and as a way of reflecting upon ourselves.
yeah.
So we use the moon as a vehicle for self-awareness and
Mhm.
self-enlightenment. So
Mm.
it's fascinating, and you know, it's a whole other topic for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
lots
yeah.
of richness there.
Yeah, I would say so, because like you said, if you look back at at our ancestors thousands of years ago, they didn't have what we have today, but yet they really nourished the woman. They really did everything it took. If you look at the way some tribes would do, for women, what they would do to become, within themselves, they would celebrate that. You know what I mean? Whereas today, it's like you said, looking at the woman, it's like, no, a woman has to be a mother. She has to be a wife. She has to be a chef. She has to be a whatever, a worker, a manager, whatever. And the thing is, she forgets to be herself. And that's really, truly important. And that's what happens. A lot of women lose who they are because they're so surrounded with, like you said before, oh, I must, that they don't have time for that. So that's why I really like that it's how you said, it's not just being a woman, it's everything. And if you go back centuries ago, you would see how they celebrated women and the rituals. When I say rituals, they weren't sacrificing, but they were doing things to celebrate the woman. So I find that really, really, really important. But what is like, so people who are listening, they're probably thinking again, what's this Ayurveda? And yes, like I wanted to just mention before, it's not the massive changes. It's not like I was fire and all of a sudden it's like, I need to be air. It's like, well, good luck with that, Grace. So, you know what I mean? I will put myself through pain before I put myself through pleasure. So it's just a matter of balancing. Well, what's next from fire, Grace? Is it earth? Maybe be fire and earth, not, and someone who's air, maybe it's too much. Maybe they're going to be balanced out. So, you know what I mean? So I think a lot of people feel that they need to, like I said, 180 change or else nothing's going to change. And I think it's not about that. It's the little things. So having said that, my next question would be the best lifestyle tips, the best for women, the best Ayurvedic lifestyle tips. What would you say? I'm writing it down too.
Yeah. And I can speak from a personal experience too, because I know what has made the most sense for me and for my clients. And my clients are very much like me. They are, busy people with families, with professions. We're trying to do a little bit of everything. And so self-care really is at the top of my list.
Yeah.
And it needs to be a realistic thing. Right. I know self-care is a hot topic right now. And some people can feel shamed by that. Like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for self-care. And, how am I supposed to do that? And that's why it needs to be really accessible. It really needs to be doable. And that's why I love that morning, reflection time with a cup of tea. Because it's like, most of us, I think we can pull off something kind of like that. But so self-care is at the top of my list for myself and for a lot of my clients because I work with mostly women. We tend to put ourselves last.
Yes.
At the end of our to-do list, always, where I'm going to take care of everyone else before I take care of me. And so the lesson is, can you put yourself first? And that's why I do put a lot of emphasis in the morning time, because it's beautiful. And you know this, Grace. It's this beautiful, peaceful time for us to take advantage of before the craziness of the day begins.
Yeah.
And it has this really beautiful energy. We call this sattva, very sattvic, clear and pure. And it's just when the mind can be a little bit more clear as well. Just in terms of getting in touch with ourselves, but also it's a good time to prioritize ourselves as well. It's during this special time in the morning, even if it's like 10 minutes. And so I would challenge your listeners, like, what could you do first thing in the morning for yourself? First thing before you start to tend to everyone else or get ready for work or whatever it is, or check your phone, right? Can you create a little cushion of time for yourself first? And what would you do in that time as a self-care practice? It could just be sitting with that cup of tea, or it could be something else. Maybe, for some moms with young kids, maybe it's just getting in the shower. Right? Taking those first 10 minutes of the day to take care of ourselves. Because we talk about wellness in Ayurveda sometimes. I use this analogy a lot with my clients in terms of our wellness being a container or like a well. And we have to We have to pay into that well. We have to fill our own well so that we can serve others, so that we
Yeah.
can do what it is that we want to do, so we can fulfill our life's purpose, whatever that may be. But if our cup runneth dry, we have
Yeah.
nothing to give. So, and I speak of this in personal experience myself, because I've always been a type A, go, take care of other people first, I can do it all type person. And I've learned so many ways over the years how that is just not working for me at all. So
Yeah.
that is a challenge, to think of a little something that you can do, and something that really feels nourishing to you. So this is
Yeah.
not, it does not mean like, oh, I'm going to get up and do cardio for 10 minutes. No,
Yeah.
no.
That's right.
That does not sound nourishing. That sounds more like someone telling you that you need to be doing something.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to work through the voices to get to our true voice, saying like, oh, I just want to sit and enjoy the quiet and maybe take a bath. Those first like few moments,
Absolutely.
you're going for your swim, So it's like, this is my time. This is what I want women to hear in this message. This is my time.
My time.
So
Yes.
what am I going to do for me, even if it's just 5 minutes, even if I'm just going to sit up in bed and sit here
Yeah.
and breathe and do nothing. Do nothing.
Yeah.
Because for some of us, that's really hard.
Absolutely.
Is to just try to fill our own well, and just know that you don't actually have to be active in something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something that where you are inactive and just trying to find some peace and quiet.
Yeah. And it's so true, like you said, because a lot of people think, oh, so you're telling me 10 minutes to myself. Yeah, okay, well, then I'll quickly do this, and it's not about that. And, I learned, and I say to people, don't let the disease teach you a lesson. And that was the biggest lesson that unfortunately I had to be taught, because I wasn't listening. And so I say to people, don't wait to that. And that's what I say about people. It's about me first. And when I say that, people look at me like, oh, what do you mean it's about? Yeah, it's about me first. Because like you said, if I'm not looking after me, I'm not good enough for my husband. If I'm not looking after me, I'm not good enough for my friends, my community, my sisters, whoever, my family. So, and the thing is too, I had to learn to love myself, and that's hard. I repeat it because it's so true. I can look at myself in the mirror and say, Grace, I love you so much. I love you so much. And I have your back no matter what. When you say those empowering words to yourself, even if that is your morning, you don't have to scream it to the hilltops. But if you can stand in front of the mirror of your bathroom, you've washed your face, you brushed your teeth, and you can even say, you know what? I love you. I really, really love you. And even that, have a small conversation with yourself. That could be the starting point of healing yourself, knowing you come first. And I know it sounds like a cliche, and you would have heard it because I'm sure you've been on a plane. You don't put the mask on others, you put it on yourself first. Why? Why would they tell you something as simple as that? Because if you go and assist others, you're dead. So you know what I mean? So it's like, no, you assist you first. And the how you metaphor of the cup is so important. When the cup is overflowed, give to others, not when your cup is empty. You know what I mean? When your cup is empty, you're like, well, now what? Now what do I do? It's like,
Exactly.
well, that's not going to help. So
Yeah.
I really like that. I really like those points, because it is important for people to listen to this. So, going back to the Ayurveda, like we said, there's a lot of herbs involved. There's a lot of foods involved, but the foods aren't involved. Like we're saying, they're not, of course, like you said, if you do the Pachakarma to detox, it's a totally different thing. You want to detox the body, but, and I had to drink ghee, and for me, that was normal. let me tell you, I think I was the only person that drank it and did not have a problem. And the reason is because I drank medicine in the jungles of Peru. And trust me, ghee was like a hot chocolate. So for me, it was normal, but having said that, and to me, see, this is a difference too. When I was drinking the ghee, it wasn't, oh my God, I got to drink this stuff. I would say, this is healing me from the inside out, and I accept you and I respect you, and I would drink it. That's how I would see everything that I did. But with going back to the foods and the herbs and all that, it's not a matter of, oh, well, I just want to lose 20 kilos. So what can I do? Like you said, it's because if you're like me, I was already fire. Do I love Indian food? Hell yeah. Is it good for me 24/7? No, not because it's Indian food, because I'm already fire and I'm creating more fire. So what where Ayurveda is about is balancing, getting the harmony back into your life, because some foods can create disharmony. You eat a certain food or you do a certain movement, it's going to stay in your body. You don't feel good about yourself. So, what are some small tips that people can start, eating or drinking or doing, when it comes to the actual Ayurveda? Is it taking herbs? Is it drinking more water? Is it, what could help just to rebalance whatever their dosha is, I guess?
Yes, absolutely. And it's going to be a little different for everyone. Like
Mhm, mhm,
herbs are usually a personal thing.
mhm.
And so if you're working one-on-one with someone, that is a wonderful way to dive into herbs. Personally, I think food is the preferred way to the gut and the
Mm,
mind body system um, for Ayurveda, because it is a gentler approach. We might use herbs, especially certainly in Panchakarma, in a cleansing program, we'll use herbs to facilitate the cleansing,
yeah.
the detoxification. But, in terms of, like foods per se, what's helpful is to think about what is an excess
Mm,
in your diet. So if we're going to look at this from the standpoint of, if we're looking for harmony, let's first look for the imbalances. And the way that we look for the imbalances is through the excesses, right? So Grace is really hot. She's running hot. She
mm.
is, going to eat a bunch of spicy Indian food. She's going to be more hot, right? So we have this principle of like increasing like energies in
Yeah.
Ayurveda. So we know that like when we're hot, we want to use the opposite cooling energy to balance ourselves and to find harmony that way.
Mm, mm.
So, thinking of what is an excess, like for you, it was the pitta or the fiery dosha, and
Mhm,
that
mhm.
was the energy that needed to be drawn back, to be
Yeah.
reined in, right? And
Mhm.
so that's going to be different for everyone.
Correct.
Right. So someone might have the water, the kapha energy, or the earth energy that is too excessive
Mhm.
in their diet or in their lifestyle, and it's causing this imbalance. So we're going to dial back that. And perhaps for someone, it's air, it's
Mm,
vata,
mm.
right? There's too
Mhm,
much
mhm, mm.
movement. We're busy. We're going from here to there. We're eating a cold diet,
Mm.
that has that coldness, the cold, any cold attributes like raw this or raw that.
Mm.
That's really cold. It's a cold diet. And
Yeah.
so, that person is going to have to ease up on those airy, cold accesses of their diet. So again, it's going to be different for everyone.
Mhm. Absolutely.
It's a meditation to think about,
Mm.
or a reflection to think about what is in excess. What is my body telling me? Am I feeling heat? Am I feeling like earthiness, like heaviness and sluggishness?
Mm.
Am I feeling airiness, like
Mm.
I'm just out of my body, I'm ungrounded, I'm running
Yeah.
around
Mm.
totally out of my body? So like try to, tag some of these excesses with the elements, the doshas, and start to draw those back.
Yeah.
Um, And listening to ourselves as we do that, right? So
Mm.
it's a balancing act. It's going to be a little different for everyone. But first, it's working in the mind. We
Yes.
work in the
Yeah, we go
mind
back to
first. We go
yeah.
back to the mind.
Correct.
How am I feeling? Is this
Yeah.
serving me? What's
Yes.
going on?
Yeah.
And then start to move from there. But it's great because you talk about you talked about disease as a teacher not
Mm.
too long enough, and that's a personal um, concept for me. I feel like when the student is ready, the science is saying, the teacher will appear, and disease is
Correct.
very much like that. And disease is coming to hopefully lead us and guide us back to ourselves because we have gone astray
Yeah.
from our true selves, from our true state of balance
Yeah.
with ourselves. And so, I don't want anyone to think of disease as a judgment or something
No.
bad.
No,
It certainly
absolutely.
can feel
Yeah.
bad,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it can be a very challenging experience. But also, if you look at it, if you change your mind
Yes.
about what that opportunity is actually bringing you, then it can be
Correct.
more of a blessing and a it enriches yourself, your personal wellness journey
Yeah.
in so
Yeah.
many ways if you
Mm.
choose to accept it that way.
Correct.
If you see it as a punishment or a
Mm.
judgment, it's going to feel that way,
No, that's right. That's
right?
right.
So it's
Yeah.
really just your body and your mind trying to steer you back to yourself.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that's true for cancer, and that's true for
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
many
Mhm.
diseases,
Yep.
really mild diseases and
Mm.
also, full-blown ones as
Yeah.
well. So thank you
Yeah.
for bringing that up. That was lovely.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. It was important because it's exactly, and I know I keep referring back to me. It's because I lived it, I breathed it, I felt it, and that's exactly how I saw it. I did never saw this. Why did this happen to me? It's why it's more like, well, if it wasn't for me, who else would I give this to? This didn't happen to me. It happened for me. It happened for me to learn. It happened for me to go back, like you said, to realign with myself. And, and that's why doing this Ayurveda journey was helping me just keep realigning. Where are you off? Where are you off? And I never, even though I was there for 12 days or 14 days, whatever I was there, I not once, and I knew I had cancer. It's not that it was prior to me finding out. I didn't have cancer. And it's not that I was like, how do you call it, disconnecting with it. I was accepting it. I was, okay, you're here and this is what we're going to do. Right. Okay. This is the journey we're on. You're coming with me and we're going this way. And it's okay. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay because, like you said, and I say to people all the time, you can do whatever treatments you want, but if you don't fix the mind and the soul and the heart, forget it. And especially the mind, because I know people who have gone through the worst type of disease, they've lived through it, but they're still negative about it. And I think, oh no, that's the big fat no no to me, because it's like, you haven't learned. You haven't learned. And guess what? Like you said, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. You don't want the teacher to reappear. You get what I'm saying? But there's a lot of people who don't fix the mind. And I would always say that it's whatever you put up here. There isn't a day that I laid in bed and cried, not because I wasn't allowed to. It's my husband would say, this isn't who you are. Don't let it define you. But you know what I mean? But even when I was doing the Ayurveda, I was writing in my journal, I was expressing everything. And I think even journaling is fantastic, because there's a lot of people who are so closed off, and you may have clients like that who are too afraid to share. They're too afraid to open their throat chakra. So what happens is they don't speak up, they don't say. So writing it down is probably the next best thing. Or like you said, doing a particular yoga movement, because you're moving that energy out. You know, and I find that to be really, really, really important because, like, you know, I agreed. I mean, I know I'm shaking my head, but I honestly agreed with everything you said because it truly is a way of life. And, you know, I think anyone and everyone should, you know, listen out and really connect with you because, you know, I mean, I'm actually looking at connecting with you because I was looking
I
for
would love
something.
that.
Yeah, because I was
I would
looking.
love that.
Yeah, ever since I came back from Ayurveda, it's not that in Australia they don't have any, but it's not as common. So I've been always trying to look for someone because, as I said, to me, it healed me. Like, you know, here's my piece of paper. You know, this is my little piece of paper of all my writing. Probably can't see it, but this was, and I wrote, I release, I let go, I release all tension, I release all fear, I release anger, guilt, sadness, limitations. You know, I am at peace with the process of my life. Who says that when they have cancer? I am at peace with the process of my life. You know what I mean? And
That's
that's what was,
beautiful.
and I am safe. The last thing says, I am safe. And that's what this did. You know, as I said, I didn't pull that out because you were coming on the show. That is a reminder to me. That's a reminder of how far I've come, you know, and I take my hat off and, you know, I know that you know, I really want people to listen and to really understand what we're talking about here because it's a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. It's not a quick fix. Like you said, it's not the silver bullet. It's a lifestyle change. You want to fix yourself, start from the inside out. You know,
Right.
you want to heal, start with the mind. So, you know, these are really important. You want to be, start being authentic. The word authenticity is in my vocabulary because I believe the more authentic you are with yourself, the better we've got one shot at this life. Live it authentically. Live it authentically. Whether you believe in
Absolutely.
reincarnation, this is it now. At the moment, you're in 2022. You might as well get this on the road and work it out, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yes. And Ayurveda also teaches us is that we do not have to wait for disease to
Correct.
come knocking
Correct.
before we try
Yes.
to
Yes.
find our way,
Yeah.
whatever that path looks like. And so this brings us back to the seasonal cleansing ritual, is that we
Mm-hmm.
don't have to wait until we have this major diagnosis. Ayurveda invites us to do this release
Yeah.
of excess doshas, of excess energy at least once a year. So we're kind
Mm.
of like cleaning off the plate, right? And we're
Yeah.
closing the chapter of one book, putting
Mm.
that aside so that we can make room for that next chapter.
Yeah.
So Ayurveda is very, very much believes that like it wants us to have that release because we tend to accumulate. That's the thing. Like just
Yeah.
the rules of nature are such that we accumulate energy. You know, when
Mm.
you're a busy person, you tend to get busier, right? Right, it's, you think of the
Yeah.
laws of momentum. The energies have a way of building on themselves, and so
Yeah.
during certain seasons, Ayurveda invites us to pause, take some time for ourselves, do these cleansing practices that are going to help us release whatever we need to let go of. It's going to be a little different for everyone so we can move on. And when we do that, we can take along the best version of us
Yeah.
instead of taking along these excesses or these imbalances that really don't, that are not serving us. So
Yeah.
it's like it's a practice of continual renewal, and to say that like we're not perfect, we're gonna be working on ourselves forever,
Mm. Mm.
right? This is just
Mhm.
part of the practice of having a human body,
Absolutely.
having a human mind,
That's right.
and a soul. So these are just, it's like getting a tune-up. You get a tune-up for your car every 3 months or however,
That's
right?
right.
So
Yeah.
we would do the same for us because we
Yeah.
want to have that clean plate, or we want to have that full cup, right? Before we
Yes.
move on.
Yes.
on to the next
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. And my husband always uses the metaphor too that, when you're driving and your little your little oil light comes on, it doesn't mean you're broken. It's there to just go, hey, look at me. I just
Yeah.
need you to put a bit of oil and tune me up a little bit. It doesn't mean the car's broken. It doesn't mean that, you're going to pull over and call it a day. It's just reminding you. And, we talk about a lot of these energies. And I'm sure you do too, when you speak to people and they're like, oh, I'm so tired. I just spent the day with so and so and I'm so tired. Really? Well, maybe that person just sucked your energy out or gave you all of theirs. You know what I mean? And you've just taken it on and taken it on and taken it on that you're now tired. So, your body is, it's there to tell you, hey, I'm here, please listen, please listen. So, and I think, like you're saying, it's perfect. All you need is a cleanse. Why is it that you have a water filter, you cleanse it? You have a fish tank, you cleanse it? You clean it every so often. Why do we always put ourselves last? The human always puts themselves last because in society, to put yourself first, it's like, well, who do you think you are? And it's pretty sad. It is sad because you and I are awakened to this, but there's people who would go, "Oh, I don't have time for that." I can definitely have more than 10 people on two hands that says, "Oh, I don't have time for that, Grace. I don't have time for 10 minutes." Really? We all get 24 hours. I don't get any more. You don't get any more. Why do we find time? So the thing is, it's a matter of prioritizing. We go back to it and understanding who is important. And it's person number one, which is yourself. So I know that you're actually you're offering a self-paced program. It's a one-on-one consultation to guide women through their personal wellness journey. So what does that mean, like, to our listeners and our viewers? How can they reach you, and what does that mean?
Yes, absolutely. So I do offer both. I offer a seasonal cleanse program, and I
Mm-hmm.
offer both with one-on-one support, if that is what you desire. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the program can be a standalone, self-paced program.
Mm.
If you want to do it on your own, you certainly can. It's a very gentle, general cleanse. And for those who I work one on one with, then we're working on a more personal program. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so many wonderful things in a general program that's going to work for a lot of people. So all the practices are there, the cleansing diet, the nourishing rituals. And the thing to remember about an Ayurvedic cleanse is that it is probably one of the more gentler approaches.
Mm.
And we not only focus on detoxification, we focus also on rejuvenation. So that, detoxification is a kind of a depleting act. We kind of whittle you
Mm.
down
Mhm,
a little bit. We're
mhm.
really simplifying
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
I'm sure you got that
yeah.
experience. I did too
Yeah,
in
yeah,
India. And and then there's the process of building you back up.
yeah.
And so for your listeners who have walked the journey of who've walked the breast cancer journey, this might be more appropriate on the recovery side,
Correct.
where we have a little bit more, we're gaining our strength, we're learning how to regain our strength over time. It is, cleansing rituals are best for those who feel like strong enough, to do a detox. But even then, it's still very gentle. It's
Mm.
food based. I don't do a lot of herbs in the general program because, of course, that's a very personal thing.
Mhm, mhm,
But the diet is very helpful, the lifestyle suggestions, all these different self care practices that
mhm.
help to boost detoxification, but in a very nourishing way. And this is one of the main differences in an Ayurvedic cleanse. It's a gentle, and there is emphasis on nourishment, not like stripping away or like,
Mm, mm,
you use the word purging. And
mm,
certainly, someone can have that kind of experience, but the emphasis is more on, gentle approach, not
Mm-hmm.
as drastic. So
Mm.
you can go through the self-paced program, or you can have one-on-one support with me, and you can start either way. You can choose to start with the self-paced and then decide at some point for us to work together one-on-one. I would just recommend getting in there to see how it's going for you.
Mm.
If you are actively working with a diagnosis, then I would prefer for you to have one-on-one support with me,
Mm.
because that's, if you are working with a diagnosis, then that's it's a good cue to have the personal support.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Makes it more strategic, makes it
Yeah,
more customized to you,
correct.
and then we can work a little bit more deeply in that way. However, if it's your first rodeo with an Ayurvedic cleanse, you're welcome to just try it on your own as a trial to
Mm.
see even if you like it, to see if
Yeah,
it's a good match for you.
yeah.
So I welcome people to try it either way.
Yeah. So just going touching back on that, so if someone's been diagnosed, for, with breast cancer, so do you find that, is there something that you could do? Like they've just been diagnosed, like I was, okay, so I always say disclaimer, I didn't do chemo, I didn't do radiation. I chose to go down the holistic path, but that was my diagnosis. I worked very, very close with my doctors. So I always say that to people. My doctors were right beside me. They knew everything I was doing. But someone who's doing chemo or someone who's have to do radiation, is there something that they can do with Ayurveda to start them on that journey?
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. So they might not be in the place of doing a cleanse, but there
correct.
are still plenty of practices to try as they're going through treatment. These are things that are nourishing to the body
Mm,
and to the mind
yes.
and spirit. So we need
Mhm.
grounding
Yeah.
practices for
Hmm.
you, practices that are going to help you feel stronger. So that means also thinking about a diet that's very
Mm.
personal and strategic
Hmm.
for you.
Hmm.
So you're eating the appropriate foods for you. Um, so working on digestion, so that digestion is really good and strong
Hmm.
for whatever it is that you're taking on. So that's another really important concept, is to have this strong digestive fire to lead us through, to
Yeah.
get us through and to draw those nutrients that we need from our food. So one thing
Yes.
that happens is we can lose our appetite
Correct.
with some treatments, right? And so keeping the
Yeah.
appetite strong can be a challenge, and that can be a wonderful practice in of itself, just learning how
Mm.
to maintain strength in your digestion so you're getting really good nutrition
Yeah.
from your food.
Yeah.
So there's lots of really wonderful ways you can work with Ayurveda to support you during treatment. And I would also say, to your point, that Ayurveda and allopathic medicine are wonderful
Correct.
together.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah.
For if
Yeah.
you have a diagnosis,
Mm.
certainly, and to gather your team.
Mhm. Mhm.
You want your pro team of people who are going to get you on the Western allopathic side.
Correct. Yep.
Gather your team that's helping you on the holistic
Mhm.
side. Maybe it's
Mhm.
acupuncture, maybe it's Ayurveda or acupressure or yoga, but like,
Mhm.
gather your team so that you feel supported. And this is important so that you feel grounded and
Yeah.
supported in your journey. So don't think that it's a one or the other
Correct.
in the journey. If anything, holistic medicine and allopathic medicine work really well here. And I would
Mhm.
say that is probably true for a lot of um, major diagnoses like
Absolutely.
cancer, is that
Yeah.
it can be a beautiful relationship, and to get that conversation going. And I always tell
Mhm.
my clients to make sure that everyone on your team, we have total transparency, so we
Correct.
know who is doing what,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
you are really the center of our care.
Absolutely. And it's really important because a lot of people are like my father was diagnosed 12 months ago with amyloidosis. And he, I remember reaching out to an Ayurveda doctor, and he knew the words straight away, and he said, "Yep, I know exactly what he needs to do." And I was really looking forward to my father seeing him. But then my father's like, "Oh no, I don't want to change my medicines. I don't want to change my doctor." And I'm like, it has nothing to do with that. You are going to be working together. Whatever tablets, if you're taking 15 tablets a day, you will continue to take 15 tablets a day. I said to him, the thing is, you're working together. And I always specify that because I actually have high blood pressure, and I went to Ayurveda. And well, when I say high blood pressure, I'm on the line, so my tablet's very minimal. But I remember going there thinking, oh, do I have to get rid of this? And they're like, oh, hell no, you keep taking what you're taking. So, you know what I mean? And a lot of people think like exactly what you just said. Oh, if I'm doing this, therefore, they're going to stop me and tell me that I shouldn't do it. No, it's not about that. And I always say to people, I've never spoken, I've never said never, ever, ever. And I would never in my life tell someone whether to go through a holistic path or a Western medicine path, whether to do chemo, radiation or not. It's not my call. But I always say, just keep it an open mind, because exactly what you said was the point I was trying to make to people. You are getting depleted. We all know it's not rocket science. Chemo depletes you, but in the meantime, get something that nourishes your body. Help rebuild that part. We know you don't have to be a doctor to understand that the chemo depletes you. So why not join the two hand in hand, or radiation, like you said, and join the two and understand that what you're doing is you're healing yourself from every angle. And it's not just physically, it's spiritually, it's psychologically, so, and I think it's really, really important. And I think that a lot of listeners, and I look, I can talk about this because you know what I mean. For me, it's like, just go do Ayurveda. Don't try anything else. So I could be biased, but for me, it's because I know how much it healed me. So I really want our viewers and our listeners to actually follow you. Go to your website, www.herwellbeing.com, or she's on Instagram. Heather's on Instagram, her wellbeing underscore Ayurveda underscore yoga, or Facebook, her wellbeing Ayurveda and yoga. Was there anything else you wanted to discuss before we wrap this up?
This was a great conversation, Grace. I'm sure it'll continue, maybe just you and I, but I think this was
Absolutely.
great, really great. Thank you.
No, I thank you again. I was super excited when I heard that you work with Ayurveda. I really was, because, like I said, I could talk about it till the cows come home. But it was my point of view from the, I'm from the patient, or whatever you want to call a point of view. So I could turn around and say that berries are the best thing out there. But if I don't have the science behind it, it doesn't matter what I say. So I really, really appreciate your time, and I appreciate that. Guys, reach out to Heather. Reach out. I'm sure she can answer any questions you might have. I know that I'll be definitely, looking into this, because this is something that I'm wanting to do for so long, and maybe it's time, you know what I mean? So that might have been my calling. So I don't believe I think it's coincidental. I think it was meant to be. It's destiny that we were meant to come together. So, now, the thing is, if you also want to learn more, Heather's also got a spring sessional cleanse, and that starts on March 1st. So make sure you get onto that wait list, because if not, you're going to miss out. You don't want to do that. So again, Heather, thank you so much for being on my podcast today. And I can't wait to connect with you in the future. And for everyone else, so is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Just thank you. And yes, if anyone wants to check out the cleanse, they can go to my website, herwellbeing.com. They can learn more about it there, and they can send me a message or even set up a free phone call if you just want to chat and
Yeah,
talk about
perfect.
what are the options for you. So you can do that all at my website. And I look forward to connecting. Yeah. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thanks everyone for tuning in. And like always, I wish you so much love and light.